What's going on, brothers? Matt Deeks here with another video. Appreciate you guys for dropping by. So today we're breaking down everything that's changing in Space Marine 2 in patch 12. Specifically, the perk changes and the weapon buffs and nerfs that are going to affect how your builds actually perform in-game. This patch goes well beyond simple number tweaks. Several perks are being reworked or buffed in ways that shift class playstyles, and a handful of weapons are either getting stronger or losing a bit of power, which directly impacts perk synergy. If you care about build efficiency, class flow, or pushing higher difficulties, these changes matter. Guys, sit back and let's get into it. So let's begin with the tactical class. Now, one of the perks that are going to be changed or rebalanced a bit is balanced distribution. So let's hop into the perk tree and let's take a closer look. Now remember, guys, that these figures, these numbers that I'm gonna highlight in a second, are pre-patch 12. Okay, obviously patch 12 is hopefully coming late February. Again, I don't know the exact date. No one really knows except for the developers, but hopefully late February. We are currently in the public test server. So again, the numbers I will be highlighting while I'm hovering over the perks are the current perk setups. Okay, I will verbally go over what we'll be seeing in patch 12. All right, so let's begin with balanced distribution. So currently, balanced distribution is your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. So now with the new perk tweak coming in patch 12 for balanced distribution, both negative and positive effects are increased from 10 to 15%. So this is now going to be read as your primary weapon deals 15% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 15% less damage. All right, guys, so that is the change coming to balanced distribution. All right, so next up on the list for the tactical is the Kraken Penetrator Rounds perk. So this perk also receives one of the biggest buffs in the patch. So this perk now increases body shot damage with bolter weapons by 50%. 50, all right, not 50. That's a massive shift in how tactical plays. Bolter builds become far more consistent, less dependent on perfect headshots, and noticeably stronger against elites, majoris, extremists, and terminus. All right. When you combine this perk with, bolter damage buffs coming in patch 12, tactical bolter builds are going to be in a much better place overall. So again, guys, Kraken Penetrator Rounds, currently bolt weapons penetrate one more enemy, and it will be changed to body shots has a damage buff of 50% if they're coming from a bolter style weapon. So moving on, we have the sniper, and the sniper also sees several quality of life improvements that make the class feel absolutely way smoother and more reliable than before. Okay, so our first one is effective readiness. Now let's go into the perk tree and let's take a closer look at what effective readiness does currently, and then we'll go over what it's going to be looking like in the future, okay, with patch 12. So efficient readiness, Camo Cloak increases movement speed by 20%, and manually activating Camo Cloak automatically reloads range weapon, okay? So effective readiness will now linger for 5 seconds after deactivation, which means snipers aren't punished as hard for repositioning or briefly disengaging. All right, guys, so efficient readiness, we'll be seeing a minor change right there. All right, let's move on to the next one. So next on the list for sniper perk reworks is ambush. So currently, ambush looks like this. So when your camo cloak deactivates, it startles and slows down nearby enemies for 10 seconds. They will temporarily lose control or get knocked back, and the cooldown is 15 seconds. So now, ambush gains an added stagger effect when it activates, giving snipers more control when enemies close the distance. This turns ambush into both a damage and control perk instead of purely a burst option. And lastly, for the sniper, honestly, one of my favorite sniper perks, maybe outside of purification, but Vantage Point. So currently, guys, Vantage Point looks like this. So remaining stationary for 2 seconds, okay, only 2 seconds, increases your range weapons damage by 20%. Okay, I pretty much put this on all my sniper builds. And again, like I said, it's one of my favorite sniper perks. But what's going to be changing is quite simple. So Vantage Point doesn't change mechanically, but it now includes a visual indicator showing when the perk is active. This small change makes a big difference in moment-to-moment gameplay, removing guesswork and helping snipers better time their shots. And honestly, guys, this is a much-needed perk rework because I never knew exactly when the Vantage Point perk was activated. I would almost like count in my head, but then I wasn't sure if like slightly touching my controller, my movement, the movement side of the controller or analog stick did anything and deactivated it. So I never truly knew if it was on or not, right? Sometimes I almost like let go of the movement analog stick and just hope for the best, right? So this perk rework for Vantage Point is actually awesome, all right? S tier rework here for Vantage Point. All right, so next on the dock is Assault, and they actually got quite a few perk reworks. So let's begin, guys. Let's hop into the perk tree and let's go over it again. Now, remember, this is pre-patch 12 perk tree, all right, for the Assault. So again, the numbers that will be seen are pre-patch 12. I will verbally go into what we will be seeing coming patch 12 and I guess beyond. All right, so let's begin with the first one, guys. Squad Cohesion, which is a team perk, and currently it's all squad members' abilities recharge 10% faster, and squad cohesion will be buffed from 10% to 15%. And this will really strengthen Assault's role as a class that thrives near teammates. Now, I usually use Strategic Strike. So if you don't know what Strategic Strikes is all squad members deal 20% more melee damage against Extremis and Terminus. I usually play on the hardest level difficulty, whether it's absolute in operations, hard on siege mode, or hard on the stratagem. So I encounter quite a few extremist enemies. So getting a 20% buff, honestly, I prefer that a little bit more than the 10%. Will I be choosing squad cohesion to get that extra 5%? Probably not. But again, if you are, a jump pack dash aficionado, if you like to utilize the jump pack dash for dodging and for your evasion, then you might want to get that extra 5%, right? That the extra 5% might help you hit that more often. But again, you also have to look at it this way, guys. This is a team perk. It's not, a core, a gear, or a signature that only affects you as the Assault. It will benefit all your teammates. So that means the tactical will get the Auspex scan more often. The sniper will get the camel cloak more often. The bulwark will get the banner, so on and so forth, guys. So again, look at it as a team perk rather than just how it'll affect you and your jump pack. But again, let's move on to the next perk, which will be changing in the Assault perk tree. So the next perk that will be changing, not even reworked, changing, is this one right here. Hammer of Wrath will become Strong Strike. So if you don't know, Hammer of Wrath, so after using your jump pack, you take 30% less range damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 15 seconds, all right? This is going to be replaced by Strong Strike. So Strong Strike restores one jump pack charge when you hit an enemy with a jump pack dash attack with a 10-second cooldown. So again, I'm going to repeat that one more time. So Strong Strike, which is going to replace Hammer of Wrath, will restore one jump pack charge when you hit an enemy with a jump pack dash attack. All right, and it'll have a 10-second cooldown. So this will really reward aggressive play and allow Assault players to maintain momentum way more consistently instead of waiting on cooldowns. All right, guys, we have a couple more left for the Assault. So let's go into one prestige perk that actually is going to be removed from the prestige perk options for Assault. So Commendation is going to be removed. So if you don't know what Commendation is, so reviving a squad member fully restores jump pack charge and all armor segments. So this is now going to be removed from the Assault prestige perk options. And lastly, guys, we have Winged Fury. So currently, Damage from melee attacks executed while sprinting or dashing increases by 100% and deals area of effect damage within 7-meter radius, and the cooldown is only 5 seconds. Now, in patch 12, it will work with all stances of Power Sword. All right, so if you are a Power Sword assault main, this rework for Winged Fury is really going to benefit you. There's really no change to the 100% damage output or the 7-meter radius area of effect damage. So all that's going to be changing is basically it's going to work with all stances of the Power Sword. So again, Winged Fury changing a little bit, but not that much. But let's get into some of the weapon buffs and nerfs for both melee and ranged weapons coming in patch 12. So patch 12 also includes several weapon buffs and nerfs that directly affect how strong certain perk builds feel. So let's begin with bolt rifle variants. So multiple bolt rifle variants will receive roughly a 10 to 11% damage increase, which will pair extremely well with perks like Kraken Penetrator rounds that will just make these guns even more overpowered, all right? But where a lot of changes come are with the secondary weapons, actually, oddly enough. So the Inferno Pistol will see a major 22% increase to gun strike damage, making it far more lethal in close range perk setups. As for the Neil Volkite pistol, we're going to be seeing some changes with that. So the Volkite pistol also receives about a 9% damage buff, helping it compete more effectively with other sidearms like the plasma pistol, the Inferno pistol, and the heavy bolt pistol. So we're definitely going to give the Neil Volkite pistol some love again and give that one a try on the battlefield. Now, on the melee side of things, I'm just going to pull up the chainsword here. Balanced type weapons will now deal roughly 15% more damage overall. So this indirectly buffs melee focus perks and makes close combat builds much more threatening, especially when stacked with equipment and class bonuses. Now remember guys, this is for balanced style defense type, so I don't think this is going to be applicable to the fencing or the blocked variants, all right? This is strictly balanced. And lastly, we see some changes to some equipment. So Sanctified Wrath now will grant 35% bonus melee damage, and it'll last for 20 seconds. And that's a significant buff. It turns the equipment into a top-tier option for aggressive melee builds that want to capitalize on perk-driven burst windows. I can see this really working well with a tactical. Let's say you got a Hive Tyrant at the end of Decapitation, you pop your Auspex scan with max damage, and you just throw up the Sanctified Wrath equipment. Boom, you now have 20 seconds of just insane damage output. So I could definitely see how this perk, this equipment may actually be good coming patch 12. But there's also system level changes that make perks more reliable in real combat. So contested health no longer drains during grab animations, which will help prevent perks from being wasted in clutch moments. Also, melee hitboxes have been adjusted as well, improving contested health restoration and making survivability perks more consistent during heavy, chaotic fights. Overall, patch 12 isn't just adding content, it's rebalancing how perks and weapons interact across the entire game. Tactical becomes more consistent and bolter focused, Sniper gains better control and clarity, Assault gets smoother mobility loops, and multiple underperforming weapons finally get meaningful buffs. Some builds are about to skyrocket in effectiveness, while others will need tweaking once the patch goes live. But guys, that's the full breakdown of the perk changes, weapon buffs, and some nerfs coming with Space Marine 2 patch 12. If you're already theory crafting new builds or rethinking your loadout, guys, let me know in the comments, all right? I already know a few weapon perk reworks that I'm going to have to make on a few of my builds because I want to hear what you're planning to run after the update goes live. If this helped you out, drop a like, subscribe for more Space Marine 2 content, and guys, I'll see you in the next one.